I believe in the last 3 years, 4 years, every big city, people know what the hell paddle is.
I decided why not, let me take the sport up professionally. In India right now, there is no federation which is recognized by the government. I see that the sport is going to grow. I know for a fact the sport is going to grow because you see so many players, so many athletes, so many celebrities playing it. As of right now, we don't have any financial support. Everything that we're doing is self-funded.
Basically, some of the best players of our country have no coach.
Basically.
Unless they go abroad and spend money and find it. One controversial thing that's happening right now is this league which is happening in Mumbai, I believe.
The World Padel League?
Yeah, the World Padel League.
I want to represent the country in the Olympics for paddle. And my other goal is I want to be top 100 in the world.
I think two things, right? So one is I feel like this whole thing of lack of facilities is, in general, the concept is a little overrated because if you look at champions, I mean, if you look at footballers in Brazil or like champions that are created from so many parts of the world, like if you look at Cuba, like creating boxers there and like you can, I mean, if the passion is there, I think that can be overcome. What I feel in bigger towns now, parents have, or bigger cities, parents have, like they like to split the, if I have a child, I want them to be well-rounded. I want them to know how to play music, learn French, play tennis, learn swimming, some life skill. And then that hunger of that this is all I need to do. And that's why I guess like lots of our players come out of rural places, not because rural probably has more talent, probably they have more hunger. They have no alternate, like this is, it is do what it is. Do or die, right? And I think urban kids are like, they're just too many distractions, too much other stuff going on.
I was actually talking to Shekhar in the car. I was telling him the one thing I feel like is a very big drawback for Indian athletes in general is when parents don't understand that sports can also be a career. Because I get that, parents are very worried about the child's financial stability because once you get a degree, they at least know that you will get a job, you will get something. But it's basically around the same age where you have to make the decision whether you go abroad for future studies. You even consider studying after a certain age because once you're 16, that is where you make a decision which either helps you become an athlete or it doesn't help you become an athlete. And people try making their children manage things, saying, okay, you do open schooling, you do this, but that's not sustainable at all. You have to commit. I mean, I personally feel that you have to either pick sports or you pick studies. In the States, yes, when you're doing college tennis, you're able to get your degree as well as also play tennis. But then I feel like once you get into that, not saying that it's not possible, but once you put yourself in a situation where you see that the grass is greener on the other side, like you just have to study, you have a job sorted for you once you're done studying, you have nothing to worry about, no need to go on the tennis court every day, and why put yourself in that situation? That's when all these thoughts start to creep in. And then I've seen a lot of people who go to college tennis with the passion to go pro, but then once they're done, they're just like, it's not for me. And I feel like that's a very common misconception in Indian parents that, if my child gets into sports, it's if it doesn't work out, what are they going to do? There's always alternatives around sports, I feel. Like, for example, you start off as an athlete. You can always get into management. You can get into federations. You could get into writing about it, managing teams, managing athletes.
Events, this, that. Like, there's a lot. Like, you
It's
can
like a
always be
big,
into
vast
sports.
pool.
No, I do agree that it has to be, I mean, because our ecosystem is still not the strongest, it will have to be do or die. Like, if it has half measures, then it's gone. Okay, let's talk about you. So, I believe in the last 3 years, 4 years, every big city, people know what the hell paddle is, pickle is, and these two sports are emerging like crazy. And for the longest time, I did not even know the difference in the two. But the way I understand it is that paddle is the mixture of tennis and squash.
Correct.
And pickle is just miniature something.
Tennis.
Miniature tennis, right? So, how did you get into paddle? Like, of course, you played tennis a lot, and probably that was a transition. But would love to hear your story. Like, how did you get into it?
So about 6 years back, a friend of mine had put the first paddle court in Bangalore. And he asked me, why don't you just come down and try out the sport? And I was, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, seems interesting. What's not
Racket
to
sport,
like?
new
Yeah,
sport.
racket
Yeah.
sport. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I played. This was why during the time I was still playing tennis professionally, so I didn't really think too much of it. I just went there, wanted to have fun, see what it's about. I ended up having a really good time. And after that, COVID hit. And then that's when, like everything kind of came to a standstill. And then post COVID, I made the decision to stop playing tennis. But I'm always someone who craves that adrenaline, craves that, the feeling you get when you're in competition. I'm a very competitive guy, love winning. And paddle was there, right? And paddle was something that I'd been playing quite often. And then I decided, like, why not? Let me take the sport up professionally because I see that the sport is going to grow. I know for a fact the sport is going to grow because you see so many players, so many athletes, so many celebrities playing it. And there's really, I mean, not much to say, but it will grow. So I started playing. And then in 2019, we got the chance to represent India in the Asia Pacific Cup. And this was in Japan. We went, and it was a great experience because that was probably the first time we found out how to play paddle. Because whoever played paddle in India back then would basically use the background they came from. For example, if I was a tennis player, I'd just stay at the net, volley, hit hard smashes, and win the point.
Yeah.
If I came from a squash background, I would just stay behind, use the glasses, not go to the net, none of that.
Yeah.
But then when we went to Japan, you see them playing so technically well, so tactically, like you see exactly what needs to be done, and you have no clue about all that.
Yeah.
Because for you, we didn't have a coach. I mean, there's no coach who's going to tell you saying you have to play like this, play like this. And then once we went there, we met the head coach of the Japanese team, and he was very helpful. And he told us saying, like paddle is not about hitting the ball hard; it's about placing the ball. You could also think about paddle as chess. So basically, moving your opponents around is what wins you the point. So at least personally for me, that was one of the breakthrough points in my career, where you do something and you feel like you have so much more to learn. That's what I felt about after Japan, because I thought I was at a certain stage of paddle, but then when I went there, it was kind of like really eye-opening. That happened, and then after that, we had a couple of national tournaments here, and I won 3 of them. And then I became the the number one ranked player in the country. And then that's when I started feeling, like, okay, maybe, I could do something with this sport. And then I started playing more and more. I started traveling all over India for tournaments. Wherever a tournament would happen, I'd go play it. And I was having a great time. I was enjoying every second of it. And I genuinely have a passion for paddle. Like, apart from being an athlete, apart from playing paddle, I like advocating it as much as I can. I also have a paddle court in my academy, which is only for me to help people know what paddle is. Because we keep conducting tennis tournaments, I keep pushing them, saying, go try out the sport, have fun. And
sorry, one interesting thing you mentioned that for you, this was a transition from tennis into paddle. And because it's such a new sport in India, most people who will play paddle potentially would have played some racket sport, whether they're coming from squash or tennis or even like a badminton or whatever that might be. Now, when you see some of the players, global players, international players, who probably grew up on paddle, right? Do you see a massive difference in the gameplay? Like, because technically, if I never played tennis or squash or badminton and just played paddle as my core sport, I'm sure some nuances, some gameplay would be very different.
Yeah, so the thing is, when you come from a specific racket sport background, let me use tennis as an example because I relate to that. You have to unlearn a lot of things from tennis. Your volleys, your smashes are all pretty much the same, but the problem a lot of tennis players, or maybe a misconception a lot of tennis players have, is the harder you hit the ball, the more your chances to win the point are. And that's something we slowly learn to not do, because the harder you hit the ball, the easier it is for your opponent, because they just stand in front of the glass and it's over. But coming from the point of view of a pure paddle player, they basically start as pure paddle players. So their grips, their techniques, everything is by the book. For us, we have to make a little bit of tweaks here, a little bit of adjustments, because our understanding of the sport is different from what their understanding is. They know exactly what paddle is. We know what paddle is plus tennis. And that's something which we need to unlearn as tennis players. And I'm sure the other racket sports, everyone has their own pros and cons. The same way a squash player would be incredible at the back with the glass, but not as good in the net. A tennis player would be incredible at the net, but not as good in the glass. But for a paddle player, it's like, since you don't know both these things, you can learn both of them at the same time. You can probably get better at each of them at the same time. And eventually, your game basically becomes all-rounded towards paddle. But when you come from a different racket sport, it's all about unlearning what you don't need and then getting better. I feel that is the main difference.
That's
and
true.
Here, a lot of players who come into paddle are usually squash players or tennis players. But in Europe, I mean, I've spoken to people who are table tennis players, soccer players, basketball players, and it's just crazy that, you know, so many different sports backgrounds and everyone comes and plays paddle.
You also mentioned that the sport has a massive potential to grow, right? So before we talk about that, I would like to understand, how is this sport governed? Like for example, in football, there's the governing body FIFA, there's AIFF in India, and there's a league and so on and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about?
So the international governing body for paddle is called FIP.
FIP.
So it's the International Paddle Federation, basically. They basically organize tournaments. You could think about it as the ATP of paddle.
Okay.
So they.
So is it similar to the tennis structure?
It is very similar to the tennis structure, but actually, it is very similar.
So they will have these events throughout the year. Players can play based on their rankings, and they get some points. The bigger ranked tournaments will have better points. The smaller ones will have smaller points. And then by the end of the year, there's a ranking of the players. Okay.
So basically, how tennis has like challengers and ATP 500s, ATP 250s. Here it's called FIP Bronze, FIP Silver, FIP Gold, Platinum, then P1, P2, Major, World Cup. And these are all basically, I would say the P1 and P2 are like Grand Slams. The World Cup is obviously when, you know, you play for the country. But in India right now, there is no federation which is recognized by the government.
Not recognized by the government and not recognized by FIP also? No,
not recognized by FIP.
So it's just an independent body?
Yes.
So there is an independent body though?
There are a couple. Initially there was only one. But now there's about 2 or 3, if I'm not wrong. And there's really no federation you really need to worry about unless one gets recognized by the government. So till there's a federation that comes in and gets recognized by the government, there's no structure that's set in place. There isn't really much that can be done locally if you want to become a professional athlete, because there's no tournaments happening related to the rankings. There's nothing for you to gain from these things. But eventually, God's grace, I mean, the next couple of months, so maybe at least by the mid of next year, there should be a federation in place. And I feel like once a federation is in place, it becomes a lot more easier for them to start conducting international tournaments and bringing in the things that, you know, need for the sport to grow.
So just to understand this better, so normally what happens is that in a sport like, let's say, cricket or football, more team sports, the federation is critical because they decide Team India. Right? If Indian team has to play in the World Cup, the federation will be mandated to do that.
Correct.
Whereas here it's an individual sport, and if you are a player, you can still play in certain tournaments without the presence of a federation, gain some points, and then potentially be globally ranked. Correct? But if there's no federation on the other side, who will conduct these local tournaments? Like, you won't be able to straight jump into international tournaments anyway. So somebody has to take the onus of having official ranked tournaments in our country, where players like yourselves and especially younger players can get some points, get a global rank, and then potentially keep going up the ladder. Is that a fair understanding?
That is very fair, because I mean, at the end of the day, all these tournaments are for you to achieve something in paddle. And there are a couple of tournaments that have happened which were done by federations, but again, because they're not affiliated with the government, it doesn't really have that much credibility to it or merit, because anyone can start a federation and anyone can, you know,
call it whatever.
Conduct tournaments and have a ranking system. But at the end of the day, when the government recognizes someone, only then it's valid. But the international part, me personally, I believe that, you know, if you really want to get into paddle, if you really want to take it seriously, I mean, I would urge people to just dive into it, because that's what I did. Me and my partner, we just got done with a 3-week Asian leg. We played 3 FIPs. We played one in Jakarta, we played one in Bali, and one in Phuket. And once you go there, you learn a lot of things which you would not learn here because we don't have coaches, we don't have, not a lot of it is set up. We do have a lot of facilities here, a lot of good facilities, and Paddle Park being one of the leading companies for paddle here, and probably one of the reasons why paddle has grown so big in India. But we went, and just seeing the kind of community that they have, the kind of people they are, the kind of things you learn while playing, I feel like that's something which is very crucial for you if you want to become a professional athlete, at least a professional paddle player. Because I feel like a lot of things which we thought we knew, once we went played in that level, we realized that there's just so much for us to learn. And that a lot of people would look at that in a negative way, saying, oh my god, like they're so ahead of us. But I like to look at it in a different way where like we still have so much to learn. That means every match we're getting better.
Yeah, the incremental.
Yeah, and that just makes me even more excited for every tournament that we play. Every tournament you're playing something new, you're hitting a new shot, you're learning something new. And it's just incredibly fun, and I feel whoever has the opportunity to do it should 100% do it.
So if there is an aspiring player in the absence of the proper governing structure, how does the ranking take place? Like, who ranks the players, and how would you participate in an international tournament? How would that work?
So you basically register with the FIP. You send them a mail, they send you the credentials, and once you do that, then you can just send your entries for tournaments. And then if you get into the qualifying, you play the qualifying. And then usually in bronze tournaments, if you reach the final round of the qualifying, you get 1 point. So that 1 point basically gets your ranking. And then, you basically keep building from there. Sure, I mean, if you qualify for the main draw, you get 3 points, so on and so forth. But as a start, I think, making your first point is very crucial, because there are a lot of situations where that 1 point could be the difference between you playing the qualifying or you playing the main draw.
When was your first point?
My first point was actually made in Delhi.
Oh, wow.
So in November, Times Group had organized a FIP in Bengaluru University. And that was also my first ever international tournament. And it was an incredible experience.
This was like a bronze tournament?
This was a FIP promotion. So they've cancelled, I mean, they've discontinued promotions. But this was an FIP promotion that was done at Bengaluru University. And it was a great experience for all the Indians who played there, because I feel like every Indian team played a foreign team. I don't think, maybe a couple of Indian teams played against each other, but the teams that did play foreign teams or even get to witness the level that these guys played at, I think it was a great experience. Me and my partner, we played against 2 Frenchmen, top 300 in the world, and that was the first time I'd ever played an international team of that caliber. And just witnessing yourself getting thulped like that, I think that was something that really made me even more motivated and even more eager to learn more. Because till then, like, I was in my own cocoon playing tournaments in India, thinking that whatever I was doing was right, and like, I'm good enough to compete. But that tournament really humbled me, and it made me realize that that we're nowhere close to what they are. Because just to put into perspective, like how we play tennis as kids when we're like 2-3 years, we start playing. That's how these Europeans play paddle. So I mean, there's really no comparison to the levels right now.
Yeah, they might have like 18-20 years of experience
easily. But it's also very exciting because I would say from my experience as Indians, we aren't the fittest physically, but we're very gifted when it comes to like touch, and when we have very good hand-eye coordination. That's why you see a lot of Indians doing really well in doubles. And I feel like since paddle is a double sport, I feel like it's something that we could do really well in. And it's also like incredibly fun, and I just really enjoy being on the court.
So that times tournament, you did not fare that well.
We lost in the round of 16. So basically the second round in the main draw.
But did that get you a point?
That got us 1 point, yes.
And that was the beginning.
That was the beginning. And then after that tournament, we went to Bali for the Asia Pacific Padel Cup. And that was an even better experience. We won the bronze medal. There was Philippines, Indonesia, Hong Kong, India and I'm forgetting Singapore. So there were 5 countries, and we had like a round robin format, and everyone played everyone. It was a really good experience because I feel like that's when like we knew that okay, yeah, we can compete against these guys, and we can play at a really good level. It was also really fun, really exciting meeting these people, and everyone has like a different perspective on it, and everyone comes from a different background, so you learn so much about everything. In general, I think it was a great experience, and I'm very fortunate to have that experience. And yeah, after Bali happened, we came back, and then we decided saying if we're doing this, we might as well do it the right way.
Yeah.
So we just said, okay, let's start looking for international tournaments. Let's start planning it and let's go. And then yeah, Jakarta, Bali, Phuket, and now we're heading to Greece at the end of this month.
Wow.
We have 1 week in Greece, 2 weeks in Portugal, and yeah, I mean, just a whole lot of tournaments lined up, whole lot of training lined up, and doing whatever we can to make sure that we get to where we need to be.
But how does the finances work? Like, do you make anything from it, or is it just all like from your pocket, or how does
I
that
mean,
work?
as of right now, no, we're not making anything. A lot of it is self-funded, but it's also an investment, right? You invest in yourself. Eventually, it will come back to you one way or the other through sponsors or tournament prize money or whatever it is. But yeah, as of right now, we don't have any financial support. Everything that we're doing is self-funded, but it's fine. I mean,
See, typically for a new sport, when there's potentially one or like just a couple of ways to get support, right? One is that if government is backing it for some reason, so whether it is through the federations or through some other government schemes or Khelo India, whatever that might be.
yeah,
Since it's not even a recognized sport at the moment, there's no federation,
yeah.
official federation. That is
One of the
not a
key
possibility.
reasons, yeah, for sure.
Then there's sponsors, and the challenge that I would imagine there is that it's a chicken and egg, right? Like
Yeah,
you have to be big enough to attract
correct.
sponsors, but you need the sponsor money to
Yeah,
become
exactly.
big.
Which is why like I said, I feel like you invest in yourself. You think about it as an investment. Whatever money you're spending, till you get to that level where sponsors come behind you. And yeah, I mean, but I mean, obviously, the other thing that I feel, that a lot of companies, more than looking at individual players or individual athletes, they look at bigger pictures, like like maybe fund a tournament, fund a facility. And I feel like, yes, you do get a lot of visibility, but at the end of the day, if you trust the process, if you find a player who you think is talented, you put money and time into that player, because as athletes, you know that nothing is going to come soon. Everything takes its time. You have to go through all the highs and lows to make sure that you get there. And you need someone who's going to stick with you through that, because they need to understand that this is how sports is. In one day, you can be the best in the world. The next second, you get an injury and you're done.
Absolutely.
So I feel like a lot of companies need to maybe start maybe considering, like putting that faith and putting that kind of money into an individual, which that specific individual can probably get them 10 times the value of what them funding maybe a tournament or maybe a facility could.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, so many brands, maybe like, for example, even, who can I say? I mean, let's take Neeraj Chopra, for example. After Neeraj Chopra came into, nobody knew who Neeraj Chopra was.
That's the issue, right? It's all like
Exactly.
reactive than proactive. Like
Yeah, and then the second he won a gold, everyone is like, wow. And only after that, people were like, okay, what is javelin?
yeah,
And he made that sport what it is in India because of that one gold medal. But then again, like before it, and when he's not performing, I mean, when he's not at a tournament, no one talks about it.
yeah, absolutely.
Then one day he wins a medal, and people are all over social media saying, "Oh wow, this! I've been a fan for the longest time." But we know that's not true. But then JSW saw the potential in him, and they gave him all the facilities that he needed. And they are one company who I really, I really look up to, because they usually support a lot of athletes in not so what do you say, not so out there sports. Like for example, they don't have like a proper cricket training facility. They don't have like big sports which already have facilities, I feel like they
Yeah.
provide for the sports that need facilities, because we were fortunate enough to go to the JSW center in Hampi, and when
Yeah, that's mind-boggling what they've built there.
when people tell me that there's no facilities in India, and every time someone tells me that, like, my mind goes straight to that facility because it was incredible. I don't even think Europe has facilities like that.
True.
And I feel like what they do for athletes is really good. And I feel like a lot more people should have that kind of outlook towards sports, or even athletes in general, because they take individual athletes and they sponsor them. They don't sponsor like only teams. There are so many people who I saw there who are purely there by themselves. And I feel like a lot more companies should trust the process with athletes in all fields.
True.
Not just tennis, not just badminton, not just paddle, not just pickleball, whatever aspect that they know.
Are there any brands that are supporting paddle in general right now? Have you seen any brands sponsoring, investing in the sport?
Investing in the sport, there are a few.
Either through athletes or through
Through athletes, I have not seen a single. In India, not a single thing I've seen. And I know that, like, it's a new sport. It's going to take time. And, like, obviously people are a bit skeptical about it because, it's not reached its peak yet. It's a lot of what ifs, if nots. But I feel like, paddle is a sport which has no choice but to grow. I mean, it's everything you need. It's great fun. It's highly competitive. You meet very nice people. It's such a social sport. And it's just the thing that India needs. I feel like, there is, yes, a certain level of skill which you require to play the game. But once you develop that skill, you can play with anyone and everyone. And I feel like, it's something that will get people off their feet. I mean, off their chairs, and like, come, let's go do something, some sort of activity. Like, it can obviously even be beneficial to the elderly. It can also be beneficial to people who just want to go do cardio for the fun of doing cardio. I know there's a lot of alternatives to a lot of things which paddle provides, I feel. And I feel like, I feel like it.
So when we talk about the growth of the sport, where do you see the sport going? So let's take a continuum where on one side there are sports which are purely spectator sports. Let's take the example of Formula One. Like, you and I can follow it, but we'll probably never drive a Formula One car. On the other side, I feel like the other side are sports potentially like paddle, where a lot of people can enjoy playing, but there isn't enough like the spectator awe around the sport. Like, that hasn't been built. Right. And then there's, of course, all the different sports in the middle, like cricket and football, where you can play also and you can go and watch also. So, the way I see the sport is that it gives people like me, who are probably not very much into sport now, because we all eventually end playing sports and then go into like workouts and this and that and gyms or whatever. It's a great way for a little middle-aged or older people to get back into sport. It's not extremely physical. Doubles, you can but you can also enjoy and you can have fun, you can meet friends, it's also social. So the social and the participation aspect of it, I see as a massive potential. But will it become a sport which has TV rights, which has audience, which has fanfare, hero worship, which are also critical for a sport to develop?
One thing that I beg to differ is the physically taxing part. When you start playing paddle, yes, I mean, not too much because your intensity isn't that high. But if you see the best of the best, they are constantly moving.
Absolutely.
And there was a survey that came out, and the average point time for a match in the highest leagues is 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, so
and they play sets like tennis, 3-setters. And I think it's physically very, very demanding. And to play at the highest level, you do need to be an elite athlete. Otherwise, there's no chance of you even sustaining 2 sets, because these guys are just ridiculous. And when it comes to hero worship and like spectators and viewers and TV rights, the top players like Coelho, Tapia, Chingoto, Galan, the kind of fan following these guys have, the kind of fandom they have, and the kind of people, the amount of people who watch their matches. For example, like in Malaga, they had a P1, and just the whole stadium is filled, and it is a sight to behold for sure. I feel like, it's not, obviously it's not reached that point in Asia, I would say, maybe not just India, the whole of Asia, but I think it has massive potential, because once that, the code is cracked, basically once people start getting more involved with it, once facilities become more accessible, once more people start playing, once more people start understanding what paddle is, I feel like the sky is the limit. Because I've seen firsthand, the kind of people who show up for these tournaments and the kind of crowds there are, how crazy people are about paddle. And it'll really shock you. I mean, I've seen people who are just out of their mind obsessed with the sport. And I would say 100%, maybe in the next 2 years, 3 years, for sure, every person in India is going to know what paddle is. 100%.
Will it be one of those sports you think where you start enjoying the sport only after you start playing it?
I feel
So,
like it's sorry.
so just want to so for example, if you don't play tennis, you can still love to
Yeah.
watch tennis.
Yes.
But for example, golf on the other side, people who generally don't play golf struggle to watch golf on TV.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's on that side, or do you think it can just become like a spectator sport?
It definitely can be a spectator sport, because I mean, it's very fascinating, right? Like, you see so many different things happening every point. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. Other sports, to an extent, are predictable. You know what is going to happen. Like, for example, in football, he's going to pass to the defender. I mean, the striker there. The goal is empty. The striker is going to shoot. I mean, for the most part, there is some sort of predictability where okay, this has to happen. In paddle, there's nothing that has to happen. Like, every point is different. You're winning the point. Every point you're winning in a different way. And I feel like the more you watch paddle, I feel like the more you want to play it. At least that's my personal thing, because when I see these guys like Coelhos and Galans playing, and they hit the most ridiculous shots which you don't even think can be possible. And then you go on the court, you keep trying to hit that shot, but you also try doing different things, and it's just something that brings you so much more excitement to the game, I feel. And yeah, to answer your question, I feel like yes, 100%, it can be a spectator sport.
And how do you see now next 2 years panning out for the sport to grow? Like, what all needs to happen in our country?
One is, the main thing is there needs to be a federation, because once the federation comes, that just opens the gates for everything else. And once you have a set ranking, and once these ranking tournaments have incentives for players to come and play, that's when you build the base of players. Right now, yes, you have prize money tournaments, you have these tournaments, those tournaments. Yes, you gain short term. Okay, that's great. But what about people who want to take it up seriously? There's no outlet for them. Their only option is to go and play international. Might be the right thing, might not be the right thing. In my opinion, it's the right thing. But maybe not everyone has the same perspective. So for someone who just wants to start off with the Indian paddle market, they really can't do anything right now, because there's no ranking. What are they looking forward to? Nothing. You have a prize money tournament, cool, you make a couple of bucks here and there. That's pretty much it. But once the federation is set, then you have an Indian ranking, then everyone starts working towards being the best. You constantly have tournaments. That's when you start building, like active player base, professional player base, I would say, because there is already an active player base. And that basically opens the routes for you to get constant international tournaments. That's when, I feel like in the next 2 years, all this will definitely be laid down and, working on. And I feel like,
Infrastructurally, where do we stand at the moment?
Great as of right now, because if you compare it to even 6 months back, there was still good amount of facilities, but now it's just booming. Like, every corner you go, someone's opening a paddle facility. In Bangalore, there's just 5 new facilities that have opened up in the span of 1 month. Mumbai, there's constantly a new facility being opened up. Delhi is growing, Chandigarh is growing, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, all over India. I think the paddle craze is just going insane. And in the last 6 months, the growth of the sport has been unreal. I've seen the growth of paddle from the time it started here in India. And, I can't even compare it, because, when I first decided to go pro, a lot of people are like, why are you playing paddle? Like, there's no scope, there's no growth, nothing is going to happen. I was like, yeah, sure. If you want to believe that, you can be my guest. Now see, everyone knows what paddle is.
Hmm.
The next step is for everyone to start playing paddle, but
Hmm.
everyone knows what paddle is now. So yeah.
If you look at the core pillars of how a sport needs to grow, there's of course the governance part,
Yeah.
which at the moment is missing. Hopefully, one of the few ones that is out there will get
Correct.
some official status. Then there's infrastructure, which is growing. Then there's some sort of training and like coaches and a mechanism where kids can learn and play, right?
Yeah.
And then there's of course money coming in through brands and so on.
Yeah.
Where do we fit on the third pillar of good quality coaches and trainers? And I mean, you run an academy yourself. Where do we stand there?
So right now, when it comes to coaching, we have good enough coaches for, I would say, children, beginners who want to know how to play the sport, maybe how to hold a racket, how to hit certain shots. But if you're talking about, let's say, advanced, maybe professional training, we have nothing. A lot of coaches who also coach paddle usually are tennis coaches,
Tennis coaches.
and a lot of what they learn is just from Instagram, YouTube, and
Hmm.
it's not the best right now for sure.
Hmm.
But for someone who's a beginner, someone who wants to understand paddle, someone who just wants to
There's a starting point.
there's a
Yeah.
starting point, but there's no point that's going to take you somewhere.
So if you are to train today, how do you train? Like who would train you?
In India,
Yeah.
nobody.
So there's nobody. Basically, some of the best players of our country have
Yeah.
no coach
Basically,
unless they go abroad and spend
Yeah.
money and find an
even if
international.
you look at all the best players in the country, everyone, for the most part, whatever they've learned has been through social media. Unless they've personally taken the effort to go abroad and learn, everything that they've learned is through social media, through Instagram or through coaching classes or through YouTube, whatever it is. Nevertheless, doesn't take away anything, but also for someone who wants to go from the root level all the way to the top, right now there's only someone who can take care of you at the root level. There's still the seedling, then the plant, and then the tree. So
But there must be an international accreditation for coaches or some level, something.
there are a couple, but there are a lot of like certifications that go around. Couple of them are credible, couple of them are not. But right now in India, we're at that stage where some anyone who has a certification could potentially be someone who people would believe, saying, okay, yes, he's a good level coach. And I mean, yeah, it's fair, because someone who has a certification at least has some basic knowledge about paddle.
Correct, absolutely.
And when you're a beginner, that's all you need. You don't need to know like every single technical detail about the sport. You just need to know like vastly the basics.
And one controversial thing that's happening right now is this league, which is happening in Mumbai, I believe.
The World Padel League?
Yeah, the World Padel League. The reason I say controversial is that I feel like, in general, any body that is organizing events in India should also have some responsibility towards Indian players and development of Indian players. And from what I don't know much about the sport, but I believe like development has to happen. Like if you take the example of football, right? We have Indian Super League. When the league was being created, we understood that the level of Indian players is not that high.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of foreign players. But the whole idea was that Indian players share the same dressing room, share the same training ground, the same match day rituals, all of that, learn from the foreign players, and the level goes up, right? Maybe in cricket we don't need that, but I believe like this would have been a beautiful opportunity to get the top 100 Indian players and somehow involve them in the league, get to a point where they learn, and also it's a way to gratify people like you who've put their efforts into the sport and to develop the sport. So
100%.
what's your view on that?
It's so funny you mentioned this, because me and Shekhar were already talking about this in the car, and I was telling him that there's such a big stage, such a big world stage that's being brought to India when it comes to paddle. And you have the best players in the world coming and playing this league. I feel like there has to be, especially at in a situation where paddle is right now in India, if you're getting something that's so exciting, it's always beneficial when you throw Indians into the mix, because we want to see our players also play. We want to see what our players look like in front of the best of the best, and like also them getting a chance to see where they stand, get the feeling, that euphoric feeling, that thrill, playing in a grand stage in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And like I feel like at least like the bare minimum which they could have done is probably at least make the Indians play maybe a exhibition match or some way of showcasing local talent, because you're getting such a big league, and a lot of people will still watch it. But if you throw in your local players in the mix, it's just going to help you more.
Yeah.
And also the other way of thinking about it is, you give Indian players a platform, you give them an opportunity to, show their worth. That maybe that one exhibition match could change their lives. Maybe they could get someone who's going to say, you know what, I think you have a great future ahead of you. I'm going to sponsor you. I'm going to take care of everything. The possibilities are endless, and I feel like anything that happens on such a big stage, I feel like locals should always be involved in it.
See, in general, I can't think of any league of any sport in the world that has thrived without local talent.
100%.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're creating a league here,
Yeah,
yes, I understand that it might be an independent league and they are not responsible for the development of the sport,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, why should we do that?
Correct.
That's federations or the government's
Exactly.
responsibility. Fair enough. But if you look at the long-term sustainability of any league, like including like NBAs and Premier League, if there's no local talent, how will you actually build that community feeling and build the sport? So how is this league? Who is doing this league and who is promoting this league?
So this league, if I'm not wrong, it's being done by the Indian Padel Federation.
One of the unofficial ones.
One of the unofficial ones. And it is also, I think WPL is a private entity. So basically, Indian Padel Federation is bringing WPL here, and they are running the tournament for Indian Padel Federation. Sorry, for WPL. But yeah, I mean, if I were to maybe add something to this mix, it would just be locals. Like, I'm not saying it in a selfish way. I'm not saying it because I want to be part of it. Any Indian, I feel, whoever is worthy of it, whoever's deserved it, whoever's done something, to make themselves stand out in the paddle world. I feel like even if you put a kid over there, some Indian talent, some part of an Indian should be involved with it, because we want to see our players play. Like if you go to the IPL and it was only white people, like you just get bored of it.
Yeah.
But now you see so many Indians and you barely see foreigners. It's like, okay, so there are foreigners, but it's mainly our people. And I feel like community is a huge, huge part of sports that grow like this, especially social sports like this. I would say community is the main thing. And you build that rapport with your community. You make sure that, everyone feels the same way. Everyone feels connected. Everyone feels that, it's fun. Everyone's having a good time. That's when you get more and more people involved.
Yeah.
This is all like a one-off thing. Like you see, okay, you have it maybe 1 or 2 seasons, you don't know, great. After that, people are just going to be like, okay, it's the same thing over and over again. I can just watch these guys on TV.
No, in general, the way I see it is that if this exact same league was happening in Greece or Istanbul or Madrid or whatever, it would be the same thing, right? It don't matter whether it's happening here or there.
Exactly.
So you're bringing a sport here for the sport to develop.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I always debate this, right? I don't know if you follow much football, but when you're used to watching La Liga or Premier League or Serie A, like European leagues, which are considered to be the best in the world, then it's not the quality of play that will make you watch the Indian league.
Yeah.
It is that community feel, that connection, that state, the heroes, the players, the kids, the neighborhood, the stories that will connect you to an Indian Super League, right? If you don't love Mohan Bagan, you're not watching them for the best football out there.
Yeah.
There are probably 50 leagues or more even better than the Indian Football League, right? Like, it's not really the best quality. You're watching it for something more. There's some sense that if I'm to a Kerala Blasters fan, that's giving to them, which is
that
more
sense
than
of
just
pride, that sense of community. Yeah.
And if you don't build that, then how do you actually build the sport? Like
I completely agree with you. Even I mean, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, it's a great initiative that you're able to get a tournament with those level of players here. but the bare minimum is including Indians in it. One way or the other. I mean, okay, we understand that, you can't put Indians
A
against.
head-to-head might be
maybe not.
very one-sided.
Yeah, but the main, I mean, at least some in some
Yeah,
aspects.
some format you can
Whatever.
just,
I'm sure you
yeah.
can figure it out. I mean, it's not that hard.
Yeah, true.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to do it, you will do it.
Mm.
But then again, that's open interpretation. It's how they want to
Mm.
go about these things, and it's fair. They're doing it. Let them do it how they want to do it. But of course, it would have always been better to include local talent.
So now, moving forward, where do you see, do you see yourself before you kind of retire from playing the sport? Where do you see yourself? Like, what are some of the aspirations? Because you also started kind of midway in your career, so to speak, right? So
for me, I have two goals with paddle. One, the main goal is for me to represent the country in the Olympics. Hopefully, 2032, paddle is an Olympic sport, and if that happens, that is the biggest goal I have with paddle. I want to represent the country in the Olympics for paddle. And my other goal is I want to be top 100 in the world. As of right now, my immediate goal for the next, let's say, 3 years is for me to be top 100 in the world.
wow.
And I feel like if we do the right things, we get the right kind of training, we make the right decisions and the right moves, I feel like it's very possible. And like the kind of passion I have for the sport, the kind of enjoyment I get from the sport, I feel like it's just going to push me further and further more and give me more, I mean, all the drive that I need to get there. And my partner is also very highly motivated, also happens to be my best friend. We go way back since we were playing tennis together. And having someone like that by your side, who's constantly pushing you and you push each other to get better and better, I feel like it's inevitable at some point.
Wow. So walk me through a situation where from here to getting to top 100, what kind of effort, investment, monetary and non-monetary, will you have to make on a day-to-day basis to get there?
So the main thing, like I mentioned, because there's no training over here, your first step of action is to move. So your non-monetary aspect of it is leaving your house, committing to a different country for about,
Where would that be?
Europe. So it could be Spain, Italy, France. Endless options, but most probably I would say Madrid. So you go there, you find an academy, you start training over there, because they usually have a lot of these group programs and these academy programs which are highly tailored towards professional athletes, as opposed to people who play for fun or like for local tournaments. And you kind of take it from there, because once you and the coach over there start building a connection, then he makes a map for you, basically the same as tennis. You go to an academy
to play,
how to
pick
go
the
about
points,
this, what your map is. And I would say roughly, give or take, a year monetary would be about 1.5 crore at least, if you include training, travel, tournaments, stay, probably more, but a minimum is about 1.5 crore. And I feel like once you achieve a certain amount of success in paddle, and by the time paddle grows, you can definitely make that money back. And right now it's an investment in yourself.
So roughly, what would be a top 100 player making at the moment?
I'm honestly not too sure about the numbers, because you never know. Every player has a different brand deal. Every player has a different sponsorship. And in terms of prize money, paddle's prize money is not that great. Obviously, if you compare it to tennis, it's peanuts, right?
Yeah. What would be the prize money of like an L1, L2 type?
P1, P2.
P1.
That would be about, I think, 300,000.
300,000.
Yeah.
These are top players.
These are the best
winning.
of the best.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4 in the world. Yeah.
I
I mean, give or take, I would say maybe like they make a couple of mil a year. But obviously, nowhere close to tennis money. But again,
there is also this drop off, right? Even in tennis, after top 15, the drop off is insane.
Yeah.
Like even a top 100 player barely covers their expense because there's so much touring.
100%.
You have a personal set of coaches, and you're going to 20 countries in a year.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to manage a tour.
Top 100 is, I feel like the reason I've said top 100 is because top 100 is basically once you get into the top 100, you know that a top 10 or a top 5 is not that far away. You know that you can make it there. If you made it all the way to the top 100, then you just need to scratch, climb, and you'll get there. My end goal is I would love to be the number one paddle player in the world, but I'm taking it step by step. My main goal is the Olympics. My second goal is the number one paddle player in the world, and my third goal is 100. And I feel like achieving any of these goals is going to make me feel content, because that's basically all I want from the sport. And I love marketing the sport. I love advocating the sport. I love introducing people to paddle. I love getting people on paddle. I just love the sport in general, not only through the competitive aspect of it, just in general. Like the kind of people you meet, the amount of fun you have, the kind of memories you make. It's just the complete package. And I feel like there's no pressure, because you're always in like competitive settings, and like such good communities everywhere all around the world. People are so motivating. You don't see people who look at you and like, oh wow, he's doing better than me. It's like, wow, he's doing better than me. So it's a very healthy community, I would say. And I feel like that's what really makes it stand out.
So if a brand is looking at investing in this sport, it would be a great way to look at kind of supporting you for 1 or 2 years and help you through that journey. Because if you make that journey, you'll definitely be a top player in the country. If you're a top 100 in the world, potentially you're playing 8, 10, 15 different tournaments representing the country. I mean, not representing, you're representing yourself, but you're wearing the Indian flag.
Yes.
And also, that's where brands start getting a lot of visibility. And if you're top 100, I always feel like you can have one streak in one big tournament.
One good tournament is all you need. Everything starts from there.
Yeah.
I feel like I mentioned, like, the idea of finding a talent and, trusting the process with them. I feel like that's something that's a very viable route for brands to go with. Because I've seen a lot of players who have the talent, who have the potential, but lack the finances. And like at the end of the day, if you want to become a professional athlete, everything boils down to money. How much can you pump in? How much can you put in? That basically decides where you go. I mean, yes, a lot of people say, no, it's your talent, your hard work. 100% all that is included. But your talent and hard work means nothing if you don't have the money to fund it. And which is why, like, in tennis, I mean, there have been incredible talents, people who could have potentially been top 10s in the world, but just do not have the financial backing for it. It's very heartbreaking to see. And I feel like that's the case with every sport. I said tennis because I've seen it with my own eyes. But I'm sure, with football, basketball, cricket, table tennis, badminton, you name it, India has such talented kids. And every aspect of sports in India, you will find a gem, 100%. But the only problem is because big companies usually, like I mentioned, like do things in a larger scale, as opposed to catching one kid or like catching a potential athlete who could be something, and trusting them and putting your money and time and effort on them. Which is why I feel like a lot of people also do not really steer towards sports in India, because the support in terms of finances isn't great. But yeah, I feel like companies should understand that you find an individual of whoever you choose, and you make sure that you give them the right things in order for them to do it, and they will 100% achieve it. If you have everything handed to you, you have the hunger, you have the motivation, and now you also have the facilities, there's nothing stopping you from being great. At least that's what I feel.
Man, good luck to you. I really hope that we can continue to see your name over the next few years. And one thing I'll definitely do is I don't know organizations that have sponsored paddle players, but I would love to, from our network, at least put the word out there, especially the investment in the training. I mean, it seems like you're committed to it no matter what, but it's a lot of investment,
Yeah.
right? And unfortunately, one has to do that to be
Yeah.
able to even take the next step.
100%.
So good luck with that, and we'll reach out to a few people. If anyone's listening, guys, thoda paisa. But thanks so much. Thanks for the
Thank you
time.
so
Really
much.
appreciate it.